Good road infrastructure is crucial for thriving tourism, especially in remote mountainous areas. When a crucial route falls into disrepair, it spells disaster for establishments and residents alike. 2 years ago, there was a glimmer of hope for residents and tourism destinations. Repairs were started on the dilapidated R74 between Harrismith and the Oliviershoek Pass. But instead, it was the beginning of a nightmare that would see businesses close, visitor numbers halve, and scores of jobs lost. Little Switzerland is one of the best-known establishments in the area, but the deterioration of the R74 cut off its link to the outside world. After 60 years in the business, the hotel at Little Switzerland had to close and lay off more than 120 people.
The road started deteriorating probably 5 years ago. Really, we started seeing extensive potholing developing. There was an effort made to repair that, but unfortunately it wasn't being done in a concerted professional manner, if I could put it that way. It was a very patchwork quilt type of effect. And as the road deteriorated, our business started to drop off. We saw our occupancies dropping from an average probably over the year of somewhere around 70% all the way down to 30-odd% by May of last year. So it's been a long, slow process. As the road got worse, obviously, so the business got worse. And eventually, in May of last year, it just became totally uneconomical to proceed with the hotel side of the business. At the same time, what we saw was the passing trade at our fuel station, where our fuel sales have dropped 70% over the space of 2 years. So as the contract was awarded to supposedly repair the road 2 years ago, it then really had a catastrophic effect on our turnover and our business, both in the hotel, our self-catering, and on petrol sales.
The R74 Oliviershoek Pass Road is the gateway to the northern Drakensberg and the Ukahlamba World Heritage Site. From KwaZulu-Natal, the road is negotiable, but a large section is badly potholed and has unmanned stop-and-go stretches. As a result, visitors from the Free State, Gauteng and Northwest, who together generate a significant portion of the area's revenue, now have to take a 160-kilometre trip via the N3 and pay R100 in toll fees. Much of the damage is caused by heavy-duty trucks, traffic the road is not designed for.
The consequence of the toll road was something that we picked up on a long time back, because the first thing that happened was that all your trucks running from the DRC, Zambia, Zimbabwe, to bypass that toll and to bypass the weighbridge in Ladysmith, immediately started running on this road. And this road was never constructed with the ton-mile-per-hour loading in mind that this precipitated. And that has only got worse over time. You now have professional contractors now hauling over this pass on a continuous basis. So not only did it pose a safety risk, and that we've had umpteen trucks roll at the bottom of the pass on our property, but it poses a risk for people travelling on what has now become an impassable gravel road.
The road upgrade has been plagued by a series of setbacks, including a dispute between contractors and the Free State Department of Roads. All the while, tourism numbers have dropped off, and it's become a death trap for users.
In the northern Berg here, we have ourselves, obviously there's the Cavern, which is a straight-on hotel. You have the old Montesources, around Montesources, which is a straight-on hotel. You have a number of self-catering type resorts. You have Alpine Heath in the valley and Montusi just below us. And then you have a number of B&Bs, backpackers and things like that. So they're probably upwards of 8 or 10 accommodation type establishments of varying sizes and grades within a 15-kilometre radius of us, and every one of them has been affected to some extent. Until tourism and roads department actually sit down around the same table and discuss the impact that the access to resorts like this and others in the Berg and remote locations is having, we will not actually get the sort of attention focused on repairing the roads and getting in good access. It doesn't matter how good your resort is or how beautiful the scenery might be. If you can't get to it in your normal urban motor car, you're not going to get tourism.
Both KwaZulu-Natal and Free State Departments of Tourism have thrown their weight behind efforts to get the R74 repaired to prevent further impact on tourism in the area. but it remains to be seen if landmark destinations like Little Switzerland will return to their glory days.
It's clear that maintenance of our roads is required and the need for investment in road infrastructure is growing while total expenditure on the road system has been declining. We have a specialist on roads and travel with us in studio, Geoff Elske. He's the Divisional Manager for Travel Services at the Automobile Association of South Africa. Geoff, thank you so much for joining us. Let's look at the R74. What is the significance of this road in the context of tourism?
I think the significance is that it is a scenic route and an alternative route to the N3 for those wanting to explore that beautiful area.
Right.
So it is an alternative if you don't want to pay the toll roads, and also for tourists who want to get to the Drakensberg, to the southern part of the Drakensberg.
How has the condition of the road impacted on tourism businesses in the area?
Sure, this road has been an ongoing problem over quite a few decades.
Mm-hmm.
But lately it was budgeted to upgrade the road 2 years ago, and subsequently due to lack of putting action plans into place, etc., it has just deteriorated into really a bad road to travel. And as recent as May, they've stopped manning the roads, the stop and go points which are on that road. Mm-hmm. And the company that was appointed to do the upgrade actually went into liquidation. So there's actually nothing going on the road.
So broadly speaking, would you say that the R74 is a reflection of maybe poor maintenance that we're seeing on the roads in South Africa?
I think there's a few aspects to maintenance of our roads. One is just the lack of management thereof, where it just takes so much longer to be put into place. Two is that you are having other sectors impacting on, especially our back roads, if we can call them that, where you have these massive mining trucks utilising the roads, which they were never built for. So all of a sudden, that sector is also generating income for the country and for areas, but is destroying the roads from a tourism or a scenic route point of view.
But more broadly speaking, what is the relationship between transport infrastructure and the tourism business, and how that in turn contributes to economic growth?
I think Mitsatsi on a previous program has said that the tourism industry doesn't get taken seriously. And often trying to engage with governmental departments, and sometimes you have to do it on a national level, other times on a provincial, and other times on a local level. So the barriers are quite difficult for tourism private sector to engage and be taken seriously, to realize that the impact that it does have on a certain tourism area.
Of course, the debate on tourism and transport cannot be limited just to road transport. I think in an ideal situation, we begin to see almost an interconnection of road transport, air transport, rail transport coming together. If we look at South Africa, where are we in terms of getting to that ideal situation?
Sure, it's a sad situation. Accessibility is one of the most critical aspects of the tourism industry, if we just look at it as an industry or sector. And with the lack of support over the years in keeping our back roads developed and maintained correctly, has stopped people from going into these areas. But we can even go as far back as we don't have a good rail system where you could use that as an alternative transport system, because you don't have stations which are maintained or rail infrastructure. So it makes it quite difficult to be able to interconnect the different forms of transport, so from an airport to a station to rail to roads. And South Africans love to drive. So as a nation, that's what we enjoy doing, and it stops and hinders people from going into the back areas or to other destinations, which in the old days were really popular little places of interest to go and visit and see.
Are there any international best practices that you could point to where it seems as if the integration of transport has really come up to support the development and growth of the tourism sector?
I think Europe is probably a classic example of the ways that you can travel around to get to destinations, either be it by rail, train, by air, and then also highways, where they have very good highways, similar to us with our N1, N2s, etc. But they have then maintained the arterial roads so that you can get to these beautiful gems which are hidden out in the countrysides, and it's safe to drive and it's maintained correctly.
What is the future of the R74? Is there scope to see it come back and be improved such that it becomes a key connector to some key tourism destination areas?
Well, from an industry point, we'd love to see it. I think the red tape to get through the motion to appoint a new contractor for the area is, again, you're just talking about a time span. And we must also be positive. There are road works and upgrades taking place between Barberton and Carolina, for example, which is a fantastic drive in Mpumalanga, is taking place. It's just the timing. You know, there's these lags and delays, which when you're starting to go to the roads and having to upgrade it to the standard that is required, it takes a lot of time. And so it's not just about not having it being put in place, it's the time lag that happens, which affects then your local communities in those areas.
Is there scope, in your view, in the regulatory environment to change the regulations such that we can really see an increased pace of service delivery in terms of getting this road back on track?
There is engagement taking place between private sector and the roads department, and AA from a road safety point of view is very important for us because you know, it's not just about the road, it's about the road safety, the lives that it costs us, you know, apart from the impact that it has on the local communities. So it is there. It's just a process. It's the barriers, it's the red tape. You know, we did a study many years ago of these red tape issues which hinder growth and aspects for this industry specifically.